Here we are again with the continued reading of Molasses Moon from the Kindle Fire. And we'll be starting with, this is reading number 26, starting from where we left off last time. I'll be setting this down on the table to read from. Love this little thing. Okay, take care of all the itches and squirm around a little bit and get comfortable. That should be all part of it. So, hope you're ready. I'm ready, I think. Okay, one of the Capri conversations with Tom. He wasn't too happy with me during one of those. We were having breakfast in one of the back booths. All the booths are black vinyl. Some of them have deep potholes, but the place is dependable, and the waitresses are veterans. They know their job so well, they would put the consistency in the laws of physics to shame. I mean the real ones here, not the somewhat accurate imitations scientists have presented so far. It's nice to go into a restaurant and have the waitresses be part of the family. Small towns are like that. What's nicer though, is these waitresses, being veterans, don't bother you with their personal problems. They just pleasantly serve your meal, sometimes joke a little, then get out of your way. They have their own work to do. They certainly are to be complimented and admired. So I was trying to explain one of my cues to Tom, and he wasn't getting it. I'm not too good at self-expression when I'm raw. I see why he gets frustrated. I was illuminating an elusive logical progression, the one about shifting bases of numerological values of Q. Being raw, I hadn't quite gotten it myself yet. I was mixing, stirring, and baking some heavy thoughts on top of him. He doesn't appreciate that. Thinking he was going to get me good for confusing him, he asked, "Why are fire engines red?" He said the answer was not supposed to make sense and proceeded to give it to me. Fire trucks are red. Newspapers are red too. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 times 3 equals 12. There are 12 inches in a foot. A foot is sometimes called a ruler. Queen Mary was a ruler. Queen Mary was also a ship. A ship sails in the ocean. Fish swim in the ocean. Fish have fins. The Finns fought the Russians. Russians are red. Fire trucks are always rushing. Therefore, fire trucks are always red. It made perfect sense to me. It reminded me of my writing, and I grinned and said so. He glared at me with unhidden shock that I would admit it. The fire engine answer doesn't make sense, he argued. It mixes apples and oranges. I like fruit baskets myself, but didn't dare say it right then. Even though the answer isn't right, the logic links are there, I said instead. I was trying to explain you can't mix apples with oranges in my Q problem. I was trying to explain you can't mix apples and oranges with my Q problem. It's like switching bases in number systems, or like numerology, where numbers refer to quantities of things, as in matter, while letters and numbers in sequence, as in time. So you can't mix the numerology of numbers with letters. And language is a more sophisticated story. It uses not only things and sequence, but sound as well. And his scowl would have made a fire engine proud. I wanted to say if there weren't some type of logic links in the fire engine, he wouldn't remember it. But I thought he'd had enough of me for one breakfast. We changed the subject. I thanked him for the fire engine question, since I could use it in molasses. I asked him to repeat it slowly so I could record it. My memory isn't as good as his. I scribbled the ditty on a small red square of paper I had picked up at a print shop. I had written prices for letterhead on it. Just one of those things I'd like to buy if I ever get paid. I circled the prices and wrote around them. Then I wrote lightning logic, another goad, at the bottom of my notes on the fire engine ditty. Also on the red square, there's an imprint of a diamond made out of lightning bolts. And the word Brights is imprinted at the top of the base of the diamond. Now, maybe I can explain to you about switching bases. Speaking of which, my disk wouldn't take or save more words at this point. I had to stop, save chapter 14 in my letters file, return to program, format a couple disks, reboot my word writer program, call up 14 from the letters file, save it on 2 new disks, erase chapter 14 from the letters, and here I am. I'm back. I also went downstairs to get a refill in my glass of mint tea. And a piece of lemon cake I made yesterday. Wow, from the present, I'd love to have a piece of fresh lemon cake and some iced tea with mint. I don't cook as much anymore now. Oh well. Back to the book. I made Mom a caramel molasses cake for her birthday. I do take time to bake now and then. I don't half-bake cakes. But I do like raw batter. So does Tara. Speaking from the present, when I talk of the attic, I think you probably realize where I'm speaking now is the kitchen, and it's downstairs in the same house. And then the attic is, I'll look over, it's over there in that direction, and it's right up there. And it's not really, I don't know what to say, functional right now. I won't go into detail. Okay, where did I leave off? So does Tara like better. Well, it's 6 minutes before 4 o'clock. I'm going to have to pay myself today before I explain my Q bases. I get paid each day by keeping up with Picard, in case you haven't guessed. Or maybe I've mentioned that a time or two. I was wrongly spelling his name Pichard in the first part of this book, but I caught my error. It's just as well I quit now anyway. Maybe this evening after Star Trek or tomorrow morning I'll be fresher, more clear, and hopefully crisp too, and play one base at a time, even if I am loaded. I can't drink alcohol. My liver isn't up to par. Neither is my overall state of balance. Besides, I want to stay as clean as possible for the day I'm qualmless and get my ticket to green pastures. Tomorrow's March 31st, just to keep you in timelines. This lemon cake's good. It's making me hungry. I might have another piece. I'm on page 10. I might have to start a new chapter before goading any further with your quantum physics and numerology class. I feel better now, but don't worry, it won't last. Chapter 15. Chipping Away. Now I'll go into this just a little ways. The Star Trek episode this afternoon of March 30th was the one featuring Mrs. Troy and the man from the reclusive culture enforcing suicide at 60. Oops, I'm 64. And that's from the present, of course. The arguments pro and con missed my point altogether. Society doesn't own the lives of individuals. Families don't either. Individuals do. It's simple to me. I have the right to die when I choose, without pain or shame. As long as I'm paying my own way, I don't have the right to force others to take care of me. My point is that my life belongs to me. Your life and death belongs to you. No one can live or die for me or you. Another person might give his own life for one of ours, but he can't give my life for me or your life for you. He can take it, but he shouldn't. Unless you or I force him to. That's another matter altogether. I guess when we're so cluster-oriented, it's hard to remember each of us is each of us. When a society takes away the right to death from individuals, it's signing its own eventual death warrant. It doesn't matter if this right is stolen by a government or a church. It has to be stolen. It doesn't automatically belong to any group. I know why we cling to each other and to various types of clusters of people, even when they put crazy rules on us and make us follow weird rituals. I wrote a work of fantasy, A Field of Daisies, developing its plot around this craving to cling. We're deeply insecure as a species, not to mention immature. We're new to the game of rational consciousness being our main survival tool in a physical world. Either it wasn't long ago we relied on instinct and were munching bananas and swinging from tree branches, as Darwin argues, or, as I'm arguing for the moment, it wasn't long ago we lived in a world where our minds easily made mincemeat out of matter. Well, that's not exactly right, since I'm saying we were in a mental reality in which there is no real matter. But the imaginary matter is pretty realistic, and the idea is the same. We were able to manipulate our reality easily with a thought and a choice. We made our own cues, too. Which reminds me, when the new paradigm takes hold and the ICSS is set faster, cues won't go by faster. In fact, we'll have more personal control over cues. We will even make our own if we want. Second, third, and however many chances will be available at the blink of an eye. But truthfully, we shouldn't need them often. That's enough for one day on a soapbox out in the ozone. Yeah, good pausing point. So, weird thoughts. At least maybe intriguing. Some to consider. Right or wrong. Exercising your brain. I don't think that will hurt anything. So whatever you believe, you can keep on believing. And then just exercise your mind a little bit. Take care. We'll see you next time.